Hey guys, NoZoupForYou here, obviously. Yeah, why do all of us YouTubers always start off with, "Hi, so-and-so here"? And you know it's us. You clicked on the video. I mean, it's obvious, right? I digress. We're going to talk about battleships today. It's been a little while since I've done a state of blah blah blah, so we're gonna take a look at battleships again. We've had the French line come out. I think it's worth kind of reinvestigating where we're at with battleships. I'm going to take a look at some North American server stats. I'm going to regurgitate them to you and give you my thoughts on where we're at with battleships. And if any of you recall the last time I did one of these with battleships, I really can't remember what I said, but I don't think it was 100% positive. I don't think we were in a great spot. Might have been right about the time that the Royal Navy battleship line was released and everybody was HE happy, which I know all of us absolutely hated. Conqueror comes to mind, and we're going to look at the Conqueror again. We're going to see where it's at, but really I want to do this because the French battleships are out, and I kind of want to show you some stats at how they're performing right now. And of course you're watching the Alsace, or the Allspice as I've started calling it. This ship is my muse. It is my new favorite battleship. I absolutely love this battleship. It's everything I want in a battleship. It's fast, it's a raider, but it can also brawl. The guns are deadly accurate, in my opinion. You know, I'm sure some stat junkies out there and people that really care about the mechanics of guns hardcore might debate the dispersion and everything else, but for me, they feel fine. And how it feels to you is the important thing, right? So yeah, I love this ship. Just absolutely love it, and that's what you're watching right now. So anyhow, we're going to start with Tier 7 and work our way up to Tier 10, and I'm just going to point out some facts that I've seen. Going to go over some 2-week stats and then some all-time stats. So Tier 7, the Leon in there, fair amount of battles in it so far. Players seem to absolutely like it. The past 2 weeks, damage, it's leading almost everything right now with 58,000 damage. Nelson beats it out slightly at 63,000 damage, and the Nelson is your leader right now in win rate percentage at 55%. I'm sure everybody using that is using HE and just slinging that stuff back and forth, which we all absolutely hate. Behind that, the Scharnhorst is still performing very, very well with 52.5% win rate. Damage, sub 50,000. Not bad, though. Not bad. Hood, surprisingly, the past 2 weeks, 52%. Not going to delve into the lower dregs. We all know Colorado's at the very bottom. Colorado's always at the very bottom, but that's the past 2 weeks. All-time stats, things are pretty much similar. Nelson is still the big dog on campus, still in the lead. Leon all-time stats, right up there also with 52% win rate, second highest. Damage, 58,000, almost up there. Just a little behind King George, so that's in third place with damage. And again, these are all-time stats, and Colorado once again at the very bottom. Nagato has not aged well whatsoever. Nagato is down at the bottom as well. Sub 50% win-loss. Damage right at 48,000. Not doing that great. So your ships that have been here for a while have not aged well. The originals, the Colorado, the Nagato. Whereas the newcomers, ships like the King George, the Nelson, the Leon, they're all at the top on the all-time and the 2-week stats. Right in the middle, you've got ships like the Hood, you've got the Ashitaka, which barely anyone plays, 6,000 all-time battles, so I don't even know if we can really take that into effect. Moving on to Tier 8, I think this is everybody's bellwether tier. Everybody loves Tier 8. All-time stats. Very interesting here. Wasn't expecting to see this on the North American server, but the Roma is basically performing the best all time right now. Granted, it only has 64,000 battles, looking at a 54% win rate with 62,000 damage. Right behind that, you've got the Alabama, and surprisingly, all time, you've got the Richelieu right behind that. And I know a lot of people have griped about the Richelieu, but the Richelieu is doing pretty good and holding a 52.5 win-loss ratio, 62,000 damage. And again, going towards the bottom, at the very bottom, you've got Tirpitz. Not surprising that it was pretty much the first pay-to-play ship. I almost said pay-to-win, and I wouldn't necessarily call it pay-to-win because apparently it's not winning. But with almost 4 million battles, it's under 50% win-loss ratio and damage at about 50,000 and a half. Right above that, you've got the Gascoigne. Gascoigne out of 11,000 battles, not doing that great. And then above that, Bismarck. So again, the older ships aren't aging that great. Amagi's right in the middle, still a 51% win-loss ratio. So not doing that bad, and Key's just above that. So they're your tier 8s right now. But you've got the North Carolina at the very bottom, which is unfortunate because the North Carolina is a great ship, but it also has 5 million battles, almost, just shy. So that's all time. Let's look at the 2-week stats for this. 2-week stats, not too much has changed. Roma is still in the lead. People are still playing Roma. People are still liking the Roma. People are still doing the most damage in the Roma, and they're winning the most in the Roma, which, not too surprising. The Roma is a fun ship. Richelieu is actually up there the past 2 weeks at 52% win-loss ratio. 40,000 battles in the past 2 weeks, and only a few ships have more than that. Bismarck at 60,000 almost, and above that 50% win-loss ratio. Again, the older ships not faring so well. Amagi, Bismarck, North Carolina, and the Tirpitz all in the bottom half. But again, people haven't been playing them as much, especially the past 2 weeks. It's the French factor. And the thing about the French ships that you need to keep in mind right now, I wouldn't say all the best players are playing them, but you've got a lot more players that have incentive to play them, have more time to play them, might be a little better to play them. They have the premium, and players that don't have premium and can't grind them as quickly or don't have the time to grind them as quickly aren't in those higher tier French battleships yet. So, going to be skewed a little bit, much as it was when the British battleships came out, but that's your tier 8 right now. Now, moving on to tier 9, which is actually one of my favorite tiers. Starting off with the 2 weeks on this, Musashi over the past 2 weeks is your top performer. 90,000 damage almost. 56% win-loss ratio, and right behind that you've got the Alsace at 53% and 81,000 damage. No surprise there again. Again, you've got your good players that are purchasing the Musashi through free XP, and you've got those same players getting in the Alsace. Both are great ships, and the Musashi, again, basically a tier 10 ship at tier 9, performing much the way that I would expect it would. And it just goes to show, if you didn't get the Missouri and you're debating whether or not to get the Musashi, get the Musashi. It's performing very, very well. It's a good battleship. I might even say it's a great battleship, especially when you're forcing the enemy to take a tier 9 with you basically being in a tier 10 battleship. So, Musashi, totally worth it. I enjoyed it. It's a fun ship. A lot of players over the past 2 weeks have been enjoying it. Third place right now in the past 2 weeks is the Missouri. No surprise there. Everybody loves Missouri. I love Missouri. Missouri is a great performer. The guns are great. Nothing's changed in it. Nothing at all. Nothing with dispersion or anything else. It's still the tried and true Missouri. Still earning tons and tons of credits. So if you didn't have a chance to get it, I'm sorry. You missed out. Great ship. Rounding out the bottom half, Izumo, no surprise there. The ship just blows. I hate them. I absolutely hate the Izumo. 46% win-loss ratio. Iowa doesn't fare that much better the past 2 weeks. And then you've got the Friedrich der Grosse. Lion's right in the middle. And I absolutely hate the Lion. Just absolutely hate it. I couldn't get it working. Just couldn't. All-time stats. Once again, Musashi is in the lead. And granted, it only has 72,000 battles, but players are playing the heck out of it since it came out. 55% win-loss ratio, and again, almost 90,000 damage. Missouri's in second place in the past 2 weeks. Alsace is in third. Not surprising. Those are probably the 3 most fun Tier 9 ships available right now. And rounding out the bottom again, the same ships. Nothing's really changed. Basically, the stats that you see for all time are the same stats that you see for the past 2 weeks. So you've got Musashi, Missouri, Alsace, people playing the heck out of them. Lion there right in the middle in both, and I just couldn't stand the Lion. Really, I can't stand the Royal Navy line for that matter. I have the Conqueror researched. I haven't purchased it yet. I just have no desire to. Maybe one day I'll purchase it when I have the extra cash around, but it just doesn't appeal to me. The Royal Navy battleships have not appealed to me whatsoever. From the very beginning, I just don't get them. I mean, I get them, and I get the fact that they are great at damage farming. I mean, even the Lion, 75,000 damage, that's 15,000 more than the Friedrich der Grosse and the Iowa and the Izumo. Still not as good as Alsace and Musashi right now, but if you take those out because they're so new, Lion is the top damage performer. Missouri's only at 68,000. So yes, the Lion and that That HE farming, whatever. Moving on to tier 10. Let's see how our tier 10s are performing all time right now. All time, Republic is in the lead, and you really can't count that because it's only got 8,000 battles. And again, you've got the new ship good player effect going on. 52% win rate, which, you know, not as high as your leaders in the other tiers, but at tier 10, any of you that have played tier 10 a lot know that your capacity to carry at tier 10 is not quite what it is at tier 8, and definitely not what it is at tier 7, 6, and 5. So really when you get to tier 10, that 50% win rate, while might not be good in most people's eyes, you know, we all strive for 55 or 60%. At tier 10, 50%, it is what it is. I mean, look at your all-time stats for the 5 battleships at tier 10. All are hovering right around 50%. Republic all-time 52%, Grosser first, second place at 50%, actually almost 51%, 50.79%. Conqueror is in third place at 50.68%. Yamato down there at 50.65%, and Montana sub 50% win-loss ratio. Damage stats all-time, Republic 99,897. You know, it's up there. Again, with only 8,000 battles. Your leader all-time right now, though, is the Conqueror at 102,000 damage. No surprise there. That is a damage farmer. Yamato, 89,000. Montana, 79,000. And Grosser first at 83,000. So, all these ships are just about equal in almost every way, shape, and form as far as win-loss percentage. Damage, of course, Conqueror farms that HE damage, and we all hate it. But in the beginning, while we hated it, and everybody said it was overpowered, and I said give it a chance, give it time to level off, and everybody said I was crazy and didn't know what I was talking about, look at that! Its win-loss ratio is right in the middle of the pack. Just about the same as the other ones right now. The only thing different with it is its damage. Again, its damage is significantly more. Well, not significantly. It's only 10,000 more than the Yamato, and it makes sense because it's farming fire damage against battleships, which really doesn't help you win. It just doesn't. It also has the highest survivability. No surprise there because players are able to go dark in it. The thing has no citadel, which is kind of ridiculous as well. But again, the Conqueror is just kind of in the middle of the pack now. It's just another tier 10 battleship. So those are your all-time stats. The past 2 weeks, things are pretty much the same. Republic, first place, only 5,000 battles the past 2 weeks. You really can't count that for anything. 52% win-loss ratio. Past 2 weeks, people have been playing Grosser first a lot. 30,000 rounds, 51% win-loss ratio, 82,000 damage. Not that bad. Conqueror right in the middle of the pack again, and then Yamato and Montana rounding things out. Sub 50% win-loss ratio. So, very interesting stats right there. Personally, my feels of battleships right now, I think they're in a good place. I really do. I really think wargaming came through with the French battleships. French battleships are just fun to play. I enjoy them a lot. Not everybody's cup of tea. I get that. I absolutely get that. A lot of people don't like speed like that. A lot of people like to bow tank. I mean, it takes a certain player to take full advantage of the top tier French battleships. They suit me well. They suit my playstyle well. I enjoy them. Not everybody does. That's cool. Perfectly cool. But overall, I think right now battleships are in a good place. The whole Royal Navy Scourge is kind of slowing down a little bit. Not as many players are using them. Conqueror is not used nearly as much as players thought they would be used. I see them maybe once every 4 or 5 rounds. They're just not a game changer. French battleships, of course, everybody's trying to use them right now, which is cool because I like French battleships. As I've said over and over again. I'm starting to sound like a broken record with the French battleships. But overall, the battleships themselves, I think we're in a good place with our battleships. I really do. Now, the meta is affecting battleships, especially in North America, and I am getting tired of a 5 destroyer meta, which seems to be the going rate right now. Of course, I haven't been sunk much by torpedoes. It's just annoying, though, when you see an enemy team with 3 shimikazes on it, you've got 3 shimikazes, there are torpedoes flying all over the place, and it seems to me that that has been the meta as of late. It's either 5 DDs or 5 battleships. And if you're a battleship player and you get 5 battleships on the enemy team, you're loving it because you're farming damage there. Not as many cruisers for you to bully up on, but it is what it is. When you've got 5 destroyers on the enemy team, you might not like it as much. Of course, I've got no problem going up against them in my Alsace because I've got a secondary loadout, and these secondaries are fun as hell. I mean, the ship really reminds me of like a Scharnhorst Bismarck hybrid. But overall right now, the current state of battleships, I think we're in a good place. It took a little while to get here. I'd love to see the older battleships get a little love somehow. I don't know how they're going to do that at this point. Just because they've been out for so long now, and you really can't buff them anymore. You can't buff the Iowa. You can't buff the Nagato. But out with the old, in with the new, right? And the new is the French battleships right now. And I think they are pretty balanced. I really do. I don't think they're overpowered in any way. And they're all player dependent. Depending on what you like in a battleship, you're either going to like the French battleships or you're not going to like the French battleships. Every player has a favorite nation. Every player likes how those ships play. Some people like the German line with that turtleback armor and the ability to get in there and just tank and use your secondaries. And that shows because the Grosser Kurfürst is still doing very, very well. Although the Tier 8 battleships for Germany have not aged quite as well. The Tirpitz and the Bismarck. But again, overall, I think we're in a really, really good place with battleships. I really do. And I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you agree? Do you feel that right now wargaming has got us to where we need to be with battleships? Do you feel that the Royal Navy line is no longer a factor and not a severe cause of heartburn? I mean, literally, like fire, heartburn. That makes sense. Do you feel that way? Would you like to see the older battleships maybe get some more love in some way, shape, or form, kind of revitalize them? Or do you feel that, hey, let's not look back, let's look forward? We got French battleships right now. What do we get next? Do we get the Italians? Do we get the Russians? What do you want to see next? Or do you want more premiums? Do you want more premium battleships out there? I don't know if we need any. I think we are in a good place with battleships. And I want to know what you think. Anyhow, guys, thanks for watching. And I will catch you all later.